Mr. Chancellor, Mr. President, honored guests, graduates, parents, ladies and gentlemen. This afternoon we honor Mr. Matt Galloway, York alumnus and a distinguished Torontonian. He has been the city's voice at the CBC for more than a decade. Each weekday, many of us tune in to hear him host Metro Morning on CBC's Radio 1, a top-rated morning show in Toronto. Nationally, he serves as the co-host of Podcast Playlist, also on CBC Radio 1. He began his career right here on this campus with York University's radio station CHRY-FM. Since graduating with a Bachelor of Arts from York, Mr. Galloway has established himself as one of Canada's most respected and beloved radio personalities. He has anchored the coverage of the 2008 Summer Olympics live in Beijing, the 2010 Winter Olympics in Vancouver, the 2014 Olympics in Sochi, and the 2010 FIFA World Cup. His career in the media has spanned more than 20 years, and he has gained a reputation for his incisive approach and keen wit. In 2012, the Intercultural Dialogue Institute presented Mr. Galloway with the Excellence in Community Service Award for addressing issues confronting diverse communities. In 2013, the Tagore Anniversary Celebrations Committee of Toronto honored him for his work on diversity and inclusion as part of the centenary celebration of Asia's first Nobel laureate, Rabindranath Tagore. Readers and editors of Now magazine have voted Mr. Galloway top radio personality in Toronto for 4 years in a row. Torontoists named him Toronto Hero of 2011. From 2014 to 2016, Toronto Life magazine named him one of Toronto's 50 most influential people. And in 2015, he received the African Canadian Achievement Award for Excellence in Media. Today, we recognize a true champion of diversity, creativity, and social justice. I present to you, Mr. Chancellor, Mr. Matt Galloway, candidate for the degree Doctor of Laws, honoris causa.
By the authority vested in me by the Senate of York University, I hereby confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa. Admitto te ad gradum. And congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Thank you, President Shukri. Thank you, Chancellor Sorbara. Thank you, Dean Mukherjee-Reed. Greg Sorbara, in particular, as a recovering politician, has been in the hot seat for a number of pretty pointy interviews on Metro Morning. I'm pleased to see that you don't hold a grudge. Thank you. I want to thank, just very briefly, the team at CBC Radio. Radio is a bit, and jobs like this are a bit like an iceberg, where there's a little bit at the top that gets some attention, but really the most important bits are the things at the bottom, the things that hold us up. Some of that team is here today. Thank you for the great work that you do. You make me sound smart. And to the graduates of the School of Arts, Media, Performance and Design and the Faculty of Liberty Arts and Professional Studies, congratulations to you. You made it. Your friends, your family, your supporters, your honored guests are here, and we will bask in their pride and in their celebration over the course of this afternoon. I found myself, it's interesting, oddly nervous this morning thinking about today. I talk in front of people all the time, and that's not a strange thing for me, but not on days that mean as much as this. This is your day. You have earned this. You've worked so hard. It's a great honor and a privilege to be here with you this afternoon. I'm also cognizant of the fact that all that stands between you and freedom is me, so I will keep this brief and let us get to the important business of the day. Coming to York University was a family tradition. My mother came to York, and when I first came to school here, I lived for a year at the corner of Keele and Finch. Many things at that time were different. I had shoulder-length dreadlocks. The village was just an empty field. And in winter, my hair would freeze solid, like a brick, when I would cross that field to get to class. It's probably best that the hair and the field are gone. Some things haven't changed, though. When I came to York, I was promised a subway. Perhaps you were promised a subway. There is no subway. But there will be soon. Don't worry about that. Aside from the appalling hour that I wake up every morning, I think I have what is the best job in the city. And I have it, as has been mentioned, because of my time at York. On my first day here, I was living in Vanier College, and I heard that in the same building that I was in, there was a radio station. And if you went and you gave them money during their fundraising drive, they would put you on the radio. We went over, we put down $5 maybe, and they put us on the radio. And in a way, I kind of never left. CHRY had 50 watts of power. You could only hear it south of Shepherd if there was a thunderstorm. And yet, in that community and in that power was something extraordinary about what radio can do, what media can do, and what culture can do. And it shaped a huge part of my life. I learned how to talk on the radio there. I met the woman who would eventually become my wife through the program that I hosted. She had great taste in music and made great requests. And I learned what I think is the most important thing for my job. You might have guessed it, I like to talk. I like to say that I talk for a living. That's not really true. In the best case scenario, I listen for a living. I do about 11 interviews every day, and for those 5 minutes, the guest has my undivided attention. In the studio, I take in with me a lot of scripts, but there's also a piece of paper that is on the top of my scripts, and in big, bold letters, it says, "Stop talking." It is a reminder to shut my mouth. When that happens, and when I clam up, incredible things can happen. We hear people's stories that you would never expect to hear, and you can feel the city kind of coming together as those stories are told. We did an interview a few years ago with a young woman, and it was an incredibly sad story. The day before, her brother had been shot. He was with his friends, they saw the shooting, they took him to the hospital, they dropped him at the doorstep, and then they drove away. They wouldn't talk to police, they wouldn't say who did it, they just vanished. She had the bravery to come in to call them out and came on this story, on our program, and told this story, as you can imagine, in tears. And she was asking, why would somebody do this? What kind of friend would do this? What kind of friend would leave somebody in that state? And it was an extraordinary conversation, a heartbreaking interview. And those of us, there's about 4 or 5 of us maybe who were in the studio at the time, we sort of just held our breath while she talked. I had a million questions that I wanted to ask her, but the most important thing in that moment was just to close my mouth and let her talk. Later on that morning, I got a call from somebody who works at a bank. He was a big executive at one of the big 5 banks here in the city. And he said he was listening to that interview while he was making his tea. He was carrying the kettle from the stove to the counter where the teapot was. And as we were talking, he just stopped. And he couldn't move while the story was unfolding because of what he was hearing. And suddenly he felt the kettle starting to burn his hands. The handle was getting hot and it was burning his hands. And he kind of dropped the kettle and the kettle smashed to the floor. And he said that in that moment, while his hand was burning, it felt like the whole city stopped moving as she told this story. And that, to me, in many ways captured the power of listening, that you could talk or you could just listen. We live in a culture now, and it's no surprise to you, but we live in a culture now where people love to talk. It's very easy to talk, and they like to talk loudly. Shouting has become kind of a default tone for many people, from presidents to pundits to a lot of people who have a Twitter handle. We see what happens when people don't listen to each other, when people make assumptions about each other, when they write off entire groups of society and then are shocked at the election result, when they shout down those people who don't share their beliefs. When I got my first email account here at York and logged on from a computer lab in Scott Library, my email address is about this long. It took about 10 minutes to connect. The idea that you would actually be able to see pictures on the internet was this kind of far-off pipe dream. It was just text and it was boring. We now have more tools than ever before to get your voice out. And I hope you use those tools in the future in whatever it is that you do to make your voice heard and to shape this world that you're stepping into. But I hope that you also use those tools to listen, to punch out of the bubbles that we can fall into, to pause before firing back at somebody who says something stupid, and to listen to yourself. We were just saying earlier that so much of a person's life is about luck. It's about the random encounters that you have with people that you could have never possibly imagined that you would meet up with, the strange things that you end up doing because of those encounters. How I ended up here is because somebody took the time and the chance to listen to me, but I listen to this weird little voice in my gut saying, despite all the things that you should be doing, despite all the things that you should be paying attention to, do this. Go for it and see what happens. You're going to get a lot of advice in the next couple of hours, days, minutes, weeks, months about what you should do and how you should lead your life, and that advice will be overwhelming, and you'll shut a lot of it out. My request to you as you get set for that next chapter, whatever it is to be an active listener, a vigorous listener, somebody who leans forward and wants to hear what other people are saying. It will change your life, but it will change how you see the lives of other people as well. In this room, which is hot and stuffy and is going to get hotter and stuffier over the course of the next couple of hours, you can feel how proud people are of you. Everybody that's here is just vibrating with excitement about what you've accomplished, about how hard you've worked, about where you are and where you're going to go. One of the things that I love about my job is that every morning I meet somebody who's about to do something. Somebody who's just right on the verge, somebody who has this explosive energy kind of built up in them, and they're just waiting to go. And that's you. That's all of you people right here. I hope I have the chance to listen to you across the Metro Morning Table sometime down the road. In the meantime, thank you for this honor. Thank you for this opportunity. Good luck. Congratulations. And we'll see you down the road.